Hello everyone. Today we have Sudhanshu Sir with us. He is the co-founder of Education Litmus. He has done his MBA from IIM Lucknow and he is known for transforming the MBA dreams into reality. Let us understand his journey of the CAT preparation and get some insights from him. Let us welcome Sudhanshu Sir. Thank you so much Sudhanshu Sir for joining us and for taking out the valuable time of yours for giving the insights to the CAT aspirants for 2025.
Thank you so much, Sanpreet. I believe College Dunia, as a unit is doing great work. I believe a lot of, my students also go to College Dunia to find out a lot of information. So I think the kind of work that you guys are doing is also quite inspirational. And you guys have made life easier for a lot of aspirants. When I was preparing, life was a little difficult. But nowadays it's so much easy because of dissemination of information and because of very, very important team and units like you guys.
Thank you so much.
So, credits to you for actually doing the right thing and also sort of helping students avail information for free, valuable and relevant information for free. So
thank
that
you
is
so much,
great
sir.
work.
It's a great pleasure hearing so much about us from you. So let me introduce myself. I am Sanpreet Kaur. I'm working as a content specialist at College Dunia in the exams department. And I've also completed my MBA from IBS Mumbai in 2023. And
Sure.
After that, I got placed here. So Sudhanshu sir, please tell us about yourself.
Sure. So Sanpreet, a lot of people call me by different names like Sudhanshu sir, Sudhanshu bhaiya, and so on and so forth. I've been training for the last 11 years now. In fact, I started training people even before I actually gave my CAT exam. So I gave my CAT exam back in 2015. I got a 99.7, and then there has been a lot of greater percentiles also, but that is a percentile that I associate with the most because that is when I actually prepared properly and got that score. For me, the biggest achievement has not been my score, but a lot of other people, my students who've scored, have gone on and went on to score more than the percentile that I got. For the last 11 years, I have trained more than 8,000 students across different exams like CAT, like IIMAT, ZAT, and MAT, SNAP, GMAT, and it's absolutely amazing because I'm also part of MBA Litmus. It's a unit that I have founded, along with my co-founders, and it's a unit which works on personalized learning and personalized mentorship. So there are multiple programs, but the unique element about MBA Litmus is that it helps students at a one-on-one, because typically what we have seen is in our own journeys that it is also about confidence. It's not just about preparation. So, and it's also about, clarity at individual level. When I was preparing, I had the fortune of my cousin from IFT who used to guide me at an individual level, that you should do like this, you should plan it like this, you should structure your preparation like this. And we wanted to give that to each one of our students. So we operate in very limited groups, typically in groups of 50 students. And we effectively help them out in terms of their daily and weekly preparation structure, their doubt clearance in one-on-one level, and also making sure that they're understanding things. So every session that we do is a workshop session, Chanpreet, wherein students can ask as many questions as possible, and none of our sessions actually end with any doubts remaining. So if the session is 1.5 to 2 hours, even if it goes on till 2.5 to 3 hours, it has to make sure that it resolves all the doubts and queries. So that is something which I have, the fortune of, building up. But so far, very, very encouraging and engrossing journey. Last year, people from the institution got 99.97 in CAT, NMAT 284, which is a great score in NMAT actually. We had 47 99 percentiles total. And we also had 44 people who moved from less than 75 percentile to more than 95 percentile. between CAT 23 and CAT. So overall, I believe on the right, helping students is something which truly motivates me, and I feel really happy, to be doing that.
So it was so nice to hear all about like how you are helping the aspirants, CAT aspirants in achieving like more than 90 percentile and even the 99 percentiles. So what do you think that this year, as IIM Kozhikode is conducting the CAT exam? So as per your understanding, what will be the difficulty level of the CAT this year?
So Chanpreet, I'll break it down into three pieces, right?
Yeah.
So if I, for example, talk about quants, DILR and VARC, okay. So what do we know about IIM? We know that IIM Kozhikode conducted the paper in 2019. Right?
Yeah.
And if I look at 2019 paper, let me first talk about DILR, correct? Because DILR as a topic is something which really scares a lot of people.
Yeah.
So if I talk about DILR, the number of sets that were asked in that paper, right? So for example, there was a scheduling set, okay? There was a grouping set. There was a set on numbers puzzle. There was a set on set theory. There was a puzzle on radar chart, right? So if you there was a puzzle on stacked bar graph also. So if you actually look at the combination of sets in DILR, IIM Kozhikode went more with the traditional approach than with a non-conventional or non-traditional approach to effectively put something absolutely bombastic in the paper. So one thing to very simply take out from that paper is that paper should remain within its traditional boundaries of CAT, correct? So if somebody is following the CAT pattern properly, is following the CAT papers properly, the PYQs properly, and effectively not just the PYQs, taking the inputs from PYQs and applying it into your daily studies, that student is going to do well. The paper in DILR was not very easy, so it was not very difficult also. So if I look at the paper difficulty level, it was moderate in DILR. It should remain moderate this year also as far as DILR is concerned. One pro tip to all the students who are listening to this or who will be reading this is the fact that you should try and go through a list of 30-35 top DILR types that are asked in CAT exams repeatedly. Chanpreet, if you would want, I can share that list with you, and you could share it with the students also who will be benefited, correct? So what we have to do is we have to typically what happens in DILR, Chanpreet, is people are solving sets randomly, correct? So if, for example, let's say I found out a set and then I'm doing that set, but it does not help me get the right exposure across DILR. So for example, let's say if I have to do bar graph, I have to do simple bar graph, I have to do composite bar graph, I have to do stacked bar graph, I have to do deviation bar graph also. In fact, deviation graph also came in 2019 when IIM Kozhikode created the paper, correct? So DILR, very simple DILR strategy, bucketize the DILR sets. Bucketize the sets. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल क्वांट्स में हमारे पास बहुत क्लियर कट सिलेबस है ना, DILR में आप खुद क्रिएट कर सकते हो, जो कैट में पहले आया है वही आपका सिलेबस है. तो सिंपल बात है कि DILR के सेट्स को आप बकेटाइज करो और बकेटाइज करके हर एक बकेट के अंदर आप लेट्स से 8 to 10 सेट सॉल्व करो. दैट इज हाउ यू विल गेन कॉन्फिडेंस. उसके बाद आप जब मॉक्स में जाएंगे, जब आप सेट सॉल्व करेंगे तो आपको यू विल रिमेंबर, अच्छा ये वाला सेट, और हर एक बकेट के साथ में एक सर्टेन अप्रोच, Chanpreet, is there, right? So for example, when you are solving games and tournaments round robin, then there is a certain approach to round robin, correct? If you are looking at it for the first time, it is going to take time. तो इसीलिए सब कुछ पहले देख लेना और पहले से solve कर लेना जरूरी है, rather than actually getting in the exam and then seeing it, correct? So that is for DILR. If I look at quants, Chanpreet, 2019 में जो IIM Kozhikode का पेपर था, उसके अंदर it was heavily arithmetic and algebra. In fact, it was close to 40-45% was arithmetic and 25% was algebra. So if you combine the two, you have 65 to 70% arithmetic and algebra. So one important advice to students from quant standpoint, now that IIM Kozhikode is going to make the paper, it also looks like that way this year as well. So arithmetic and algebra is pretty well poised to make 60, 65 to 70% of your paper and nothing less. So your attention, if you're a CAT aspirant, should be to make sure that you ace, arithmetic and algebra. That is the most important element. Right? If I move to VARC, analysis of 2019's IIM Code's paper is the fact that the RCs were easier, number one, but the questions were more indirect. Correct? That's the kind of paper IIM Code created. And that's how it looks like this year also, that the sets are, the RCs are going to be relatively easier. You would have one or two indirect questions inside every set, and also the VA part looks like a little tricky. So for example, with parajumbles, there were a couple of parajumbles where multiple combinations were possible. Correct? And therefore it became very difficult to effectively take it. So that is the overall analysis of the paper. Overall, Chanpreet, the paper by IIM Code the last time it prepared was pretty moderate. Okay, it was not very difficult paper like IIM Lucknow's 2023. IIM Lucknow's 2023 paper remains the toughest paper over the past 8 to 10 years that I have seen. And this one would be somewhere around 7.5 to 8 in terms of level of difficulty, or I would say moderate difficulty.
Okay. So I wanted to ask that, if the working professional is giving the CAT exam, so what will be his or her preparation strategy? How can he manage the full-time job with the CAT preparation?
Okay, that actually takes me back and makes me nostalgic, Chanpreet, because I was also a working professional and I was preparing for CAT. Right? So I tell you what are important elements that one has to take care of. So let me first talk about some of the important key takeaways from my journey when I was preparing for CAT. One is that if you are a working professional, right, you need to cut down on distractions. With your work, you can't focus on n number of things, right? So one simple thing is that you have to ensure that your preparation or your CAT aspiration or MBA aspiration is not number
working. Yes. So primarily in terms of working professionals, Chanpreet, first thing for a working professional to understand is it's mentally an important commitment. Correct. Okay. So if I believe that I am a working professional and then I am going to do 10 things, it's not going to happen. Okay. For me, apart from my work, there was nothing else other than CAT preparation. So if it is number 3 or number 4 in your bucket list, then you're not going to make it. That is a harsh reality, and that's number 1. Correct. Unless you are cutting corners with your current job, or you are basically not dedicating time, which is also going to hurt you during the interviews, because during the interviews they're going to ask you questions pertaining to the kind of work that you have done, and therefore do it with utmost honesty, right? So in your bucket list, if let's say your work is number 1, then MBA preparation is number 2, or vice versa, but it should not be 4th in your list. So you have trekking up your order, and then you have multiple other things, and then CAT preparation. So that is number 1 in terms of the mindset. Second important element, Chanpreet, for a working professional is optimizing time and leaves. So I would remember that whenever I will enter into a month, so right now we are entering into August. I would start the month by planning my leaves for that month, strategically planning leaves around the weekends, so that I can have, let's say, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday in a row. Correct? So that I can dedicate maximum time in a stretch, right? So that's the second important element. Third important element for working professionals is that while they are at their job, they find a lot of voids. I'm sure you would also relate to that, Chanpreet, because many a times we spend a lot of time after lunch going out for a walk with with office friends, etc. We have to cut down on that. We can effectively sit down and do reading. Correct? I can read 550 words in approximately, let's say, 2.5-3 minutes. So then I'm going to do that in office also. There is, you may not be able to start solving things because, obviously the office and everybody is going to be there. But you can obviously, do the reading bit inside your office as well. So do a lot of reading, 500, 550 words. You do not have to read the entire Eon essay of 3000, 4000 words, just 550 words. If you pick up, let's say, the Atlantic, you pick up, let's say, the Smithsonian, you pick up, let's say, the Guardian, and read. That's an important element that we have to do. Now, the moment you are back home, what is important is that you sit down with a certain schedule. For example, let's say CAT as an exam happens in 40-minute slots. So you have 3 40-minute slots, VARC, DILR and QA. So your preparation should also happen in 40-minute slots. So 40 minutes. So when I came back, let's say I sat down for 40 minutes to take up QA, wherein, for example, let's say if I'm taking up arithmetic this week, so then, let's say 20-25 questions in arithmetic that I am doing topic wise. Similarly, for DILR, I am doing, let's say, 2 to 3 sets, in that 40-minute slot. And then again for VARC, because my reading for the day is done. Reading is absolutely non-negotiable. Correct? So my reading for the day is done. I recommend reading anywhere between 8 to 10. For example, reading sets or, for example, articles in a day, because the variety is very important. You keep reading one article, for 3000 words does not give you a lot of challenge after 500, 550 words, right? So diverse reading is very important. And Chanpreet, if you'd like, I'd share. So we've prepared a list of sources from where you should do the reading.
Yeah,
so I have handy. We can share it with our viewers and people who are taking CAT. And also another important element is what source is good for what kind of reading. For example, what source is good for if you are reading, let's say, philosophy. If you are, let's say, Animal Planet, if you're, let's say, reading psychology, if you're, let's say, reading economics and finance. So there is a list of sources which are good for certain genres, and you can read according to that genre and diversify, right? So when you are in the night, or basically when you are back from office, you would be, from VRC standpoint, you would take up RCs. So let's say, for example, you take up 3 to 4 RCs, and let's say 8 to 10 your VA questions, correct? So the entire thought process, Chanpreet, of preparation is, if you do 40, 40, 40, that's 2 hours of preparation.
Yeah.
That is a non-negotiable. Even for a working professional, 1 slot of QA, 1 slot of DILR, and 1 slot of VRC every day is absolutely necessary, correct? And then you can increase. For example, let's say that I feel that, okay, I'm not so good with DILR, so I add 1 more slot of DILR. If, let's say, I believe that I'm good with VRC, so I add 2 slots of, 1 slot for DILR and 1 slot for VRC, and we keep doing this. Okay. So yeah, that's how you go about it. So you effectively plan 40 minute slots, and you keep increasing those slots, and you follow a daily, weekly timetable. Create a timetable for yourself. And another important element or piece of advice for working professionals: don't break promises made to yourselves. Typically as a working professional, we break a lot of promise that we make to ourselves. That is something which is very detrimental. So I'd say, keep your promises, or keep the promises made to yourself. कि मैं बैठने वाला हूँ, पढ़ने वाला हूँ, तो आप बैठ रहे हो, आप पढ़ रहे हो. That is very important.
So, approximately how many hours should the working professional or any student dedicate for the preparation in a day?
So, Chanpreet, I would look at it at a day average. For example, let's say a working professional would have Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
So along this Sunday, they can very easily dedicate 6 to 8 hours or even 10 hours, correct? During the weekdays, even 2 to 3 hours of preparation at a regular level is a good preparation. So effectively, if I do 5 into 3 is 15, and then if I add, let's say, 10 plus 10, which is overall 35 hours. So 35 hours by 7. Average daily becomes 5 hours. That is the amount of time that you have to spend if you really want to get a good score in CAT, especially in the last 4 months. If you've had more time, let's say somebody started earlier, 3 hours at a daily level is good enough. So keep doing that, keep doing that, keep doing that. But for people who are, let's say, starting now, working professionals, they would need to slog, really hard during the weekends. That's something which I used to do and really helped.
So I've also seen some students who have dropped this year, and they are planning to give the CAT exam the next year, and the motivation level is very they're at a very low level of motivation. So what
Yes.
kind of suggestion would you want to give to the aspirants, and what should they implement to motivate themselves, and how differently they can implement the preparation studies in their routine, so that they can be so that they can improve their preparation and do well in their CAT exams.
So, Chanpreet, for people who are droppers, people who are taking drops for their preparation, one thing which I'd want to tell them is that this entire thought process of gap year really haunts them, right? I'm taking a gap year, that is haunting me. But honestly, it has got nothing to do with you getting into an interview room. A gap year has got nothing to do in the initial shortlist process. There is absolutely nothing. So if you score well, if everything else is right, your composite score will have no contribution of your gap year. So even if you have 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years of gap year, you should not worry about it too much. That is number one. Okay. Second important element. So we had, the last season, Chanpreet, a lot of amazing people with, quite a lot of gap year. So we had Anshita Sharma, who was a UPSC aspirant earlier. She had 4 years of gap. And I believe this is something which can motivate a lot of people who've taken drops, are worried of gap year. So Anshita went to IIM Kozhikode. She had a 98.51 preparing with us. And with 4 years of gap, she went to IIM Kozhikode. A guy called Vikash Yadav with 5 years of gap went to NMIMS Mumbai. Then there is Anushka Arora with 3 years of gap, went into MDI Gurgaon. So a lot of people who are doing great and are not perturbed by the fact that they have gap year. So that is number one. So our first step is look at the people who are doing it. And if you want to connect with such people, you can reach out to us anytime. We'd help you connect with these people as to how were they managing at that point in time, right? In fact, on our channel also, Chanpreet MBA Litmus, we keep bringing these people. कि आप आओ और हमारे स्टूडेंट्स के साथ में, जो भी लोग व्यूअर्स हैं उनके साथ में आप सेशंस करो, प्राइमरीली फॉर देम टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आप भी सेम प्लेस पे थे एक पॉइंट इन टाइम पे, करेक्ट? That is number one. Second, अगर आप ड्रॉप ले तो it is very important to have either a coaching or a peer group or both, correct? Because इंसान बहुत ज़्यादा lost feel करके आ रहा हूँ लाइफ के साथ, is my life getting wasted? A lot of self doubts come in that period.
Yes.
So if you are, somebody who is completely alone, if you are not having, let's say, a coaching program, or if you are not having, let's say, a peer group at least, okay, then it's going to be very difficult because, there are, sometimes there are highs and then there are lows. And this lows, that period really sort of kills you. It really sort of puts you out of your mind. Yes.
Yeah.
So I truly believe that, the peer group part is very important. So for example, what we do when we are preparing, at Litmus is the fact that we help students prepare in groups. So for example, let's say 3-4 students create their own group and they're solving questions continuously. They're also supporting each other, helping them कि भाई क्या चल रहा है, सब ठीक है, सब बढ़िया है, कोई दिक्कत तो नहीं है. तुम्हें अगर for example, let's say कोई परेशानी आ रही है, you are also able to connect with mentors. So that's also important. Okay, I'm feeling this, is it normal or do you suggest I do something else? My point is, if you feel low, have somebody to speak with. Must speak with parents. Nowadays people have sort of reduced speaking to parents, but the fact of the matter is they know it all. They are they have gone through all of it, and they are absolutely the the know it all kinds of people, right? So speak with them. They will have the solution. Generally हम ये सोचते हैं कैसे solution होगा, उन्होंने तो MBA किया ही नहीं है, लाइफ तो जिया है.
Yes.
उनको होगा कुछ ना कुछ एक्सपीरियंस तो जरूर है. सो आई थिंक उनके साथ कॉन्वर्सेशन करना जरूरी है. मेंटोर्स के साथ कन्वर्सेशन करिए, पीयर्स के साथ कॉन्वर्सेशन करिए और अपना रूटीन को फॉलो करते जाइए. कहीं पे भी रूटीन के अंदर डिफिकल्टी होती है, पीयर्स के साथ कलेक्ट कर लिया, मेंटोर के साथ कनेक्ट कर लिया एंड डिस्कस कर लिया. तो आई थिंक फॉर ड्रॉपर्स आई वुड रेकमेंड कि आपको घबराना नहीं है. यू डोंट हैव टू पैनिक. Do it properly, you will do well. A lot of people take drops and do it. So it's absolutely fine. You're not alone in the journey, and we are there to help and support.
So my follow-up question was, some students, some aspirants think that the coachings may waste their time or they focus on the self-study. So as per your understanding, what do you suggest? Coaching or the self-study? Which helps the more in the preparation
So
of the
I
company?
believe, Chanpreet, I believe self-study is must. Even if you are in a coach, it cannot happen without self-study. So one thing to very clearly understand is that the coaching is not going to study for you. You have to study for yourself, right?
Yeah.
That is number one. I truly believe that if you have a lot of time, then self-study is a good route or is a good approach, because आप गलती सीखते हो और आपके पास समय होता है गलतियां करके सीखने के लिए, करेक्ट. एट द सेम टाइम अगर आप कम समय में प्रिपेयर करना चाहते हैं, आप कम समय में आप फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से कैट क्रैक करना चाहते हैं, इन दैट केस आई थिंक अ कोचिंग इज हेल्पफुल, एंड नॉट जस्ट एनी कोचिंग. आई वुड रिकमेंड स्टूडेंट्स टू get into programs जहाँ पे they can get attentions, primarily smaller groups, and not just thinking कि भाई for example let's say जा रहे हैं रेडियो पे ऐड आ रहा है etc. So one thing to very clearly understand is that a program which is good for somebody may not be good for somebody else, and vice. So I need to understand what is good for me. And basically how is that going to happen? Speak with the mentors. My simple suggestion to people is do not speak primarily with counselors. आप mentors से बात करो. You should have a request with the counselors that I would want to speak with mentors first before I do my enrollment, and that is my sincere request to everybody, because a lot of people get into programs and then they start regretting कि भाई मैं क्यों इस प्रोग्राम में आया या क्यों मैं इस प्रोग्राम के अंदर तैयारी कर रहा हूँ, बिकॉज इसके अंदर तो मेरे ही दे रहा है, मैं तो as good as self preparation के जैसा ही अभी भी. तो that is my recommendation to every student कि आपको ही बदलना पड़ेगा. ये इंस्टीट्यूशन इसको नहीं बदल सकता है, आपको बदलना पड़ेगा. जब भी आप कनेक्ट करते हो, मेक श्योर दैट यू स्पीक विथ मेंटर्स, टेक डेमो सेशंस, स्पीक विथ मेंटर्स ट्वाइस, कि नहीं 2 बार बात करने के बाद ही एडमिशन लूंगा. सो दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच इज गोइंग टू चेंज थिंग्स फॉर देम एंड help streamline. But if you find a good program, if you have a good coaching program, it will certainly help you crack the exam in a smaller span of time, primarily because they have done it for themselves and they have done it for others also. So typically, Chanpreet, at MBA Litmus, the entire unit are people who have done it themselves. So for example, let's say whether it is me or whether it is Sonal ma'am who takes VARC, is again a IIM Lucknow alumnus. Then there are the other team members, like there is Archit from FMS Delhi, he's CAT 99.85 scorer. Then we have people like Keshav 99.51, people like Dhruv Zat 99.6, then there is Kavyansh 99.91. So a lot of people who are there in the unit are primarily people who have been there, done that, and also trained quite a lot of people. So they are not just able to guide, but they're also empathetic because they have been in that process themselves. So that is my recommendation or my take on self versus coaching. I truly believe that if I have smaller amount of time in my hand, I would go with coaching. That's my take, but I would be very careful. I take my decisions only after due diligence. That is my advice.
So just like you said that if you have less time in your hands, then you'll go with the coaching. Then the working professionals will have the less time. How can they manage the coaching, studies, and the jobs? So what will be their strategy when managing the job and the coaching?
Again, for working professionals, I'd recommend that the coaching program they can effectively have either the weekdays or the weekends. But one thing to very simply understand, Chanpreet, is for people who are having less amount of time also. There is a saying that if you give me 10 hours to cut a tree, I put in 7 hours to sharpen my axe, correct? So if my axe is not sharp enough, I'd not be able to cut that tree. So very simply, I'm a very environment friendly person. So sorry for taking that example. But my point very simply here is that if I am not very clear with what is it that I need to do, I would have to get into a program, and which effectively means that if I'm, let's say, dedicating 1 hour into the coaching program, I might need to stretch myself a little bit.
Yeah.
हम B school जाएंगे. You've also been from a B school background, so you understand. आप B school जाएं, आपको stretch करना ही पड़ेगा. You would have to give time there will be assignments. I still remember back in Lucknow days, हम कभी 3 बजे सो रहे हैं, कभी 4 बजे सो रहे हैं, कभी 5 बजे सबमिशन करके सो रहे हैं, और फिर 8:45 लेक्चर भी है. तो आप थोड़ा स्ट्रेच करना शुरू करो. And for working professionals, it's important that they make sacrifices. दोस्त बोल रहा है कि चलो भाई घूम के आते हैं, आप नहीं जा सकते, आपको वो सब चीजें कंट्रोल करनी पड़ेंगी. I'd give you one more example, Chanpreet. It's quite an interesting one that I have shared with a lot of my students also. I'm a movie buff. Okay, I have been somebody who really likes watching movies, and I used to watch a lot of movies. First day first show. मतलब बिल्कुल फ्राइडे को थिएटर में जाके मूवी देखने वाला इंसान हूँ मैं. But during my preparation period, I had to stop all of it. I told myself just one thing, कि ये चीज मेरे लिए बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, और इसको अगर सैक्रिफाइस कर दिया तो बाकी और चीजें सैक्रिफाइस करने में दिक्कत नहीं आएगी. तो मैंने सबसे पहले द फर्स्ट प्रॉमिस दैट आई मेड टू माई सेल्फ इज कि पूरे प्रिपरेशन टेन्योर के दौरान I would not go to a theater to watch any movie. In fact, I had stopped watching movies completely. Did not watch any movie for a good span of 6 to 7 months, which was, at points in time, it's, felt like not breathing also. Because I am that kind of movie buff, movies, series, इसके पहले और अभी भी मैं बहुत देखता हूँ जब भी मेरे पास टाइम होता है. Right, so the entire period went in like that. So I had to make those sacrifices. मैंने for example, let's say जब मेरा exam complete हो गया on 29th of November. In fact, I skipped celebrating my birthday on 27th of November, so that I can really focus on the CAT exam. I celebrated my birthday on 29th of November. I watched 2 movies that day. There was a movie called प्रेम रतन धन पायो. उसको भी देख के मेरे को इतना मजा आ रहा था कि आई कांट टेल यू. ठीक है, मेरे को लोग ऐसी मूवीज देखता है, बट मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि भाई मैं 6-7 महीने से देखा नहीं हूँ. आई फील लाइक suffocating. I need to watch a movie somehow. I watched that movie. Then I watched a movie called Tamasha, which was Ranveer Kapoor's. Yeah. I felt like living again. वो ऐसा लग रहा था कि वो 6-7 महीने तक मैं सांस रोक के. बट one thing to working professionals is कि करना पड़ेगा बॉस. आपको करना है तो आपको sacrifices करने होंगे. आपको अगर फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से थोड़ा डायरेक्शनलेस फील, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं आप कर सकते कि आप अपना जो प्रिपरेशन टाइम है वो आप कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर दो. आपका सेल्फ प्रिपरेशन भी जरूरी है, तो आपको थोड़ा स्ट्रेच मारना पड़ेगा अपने प्रिपरेशन आवर्स के अंदर. कि भाई एक को दे दिया तो मेरे को 2.5-3 घंटा, तो मेरे को फिर 4 घंटे निकालने पड़ेंगे. तो माइट एज वेल ऑफिस का काम थोड़ा जल्दी निपटाओ. ठीक है, थोड़ा सा ऑफिस में एफिशिएंट हो जाओ, टाइम वेस्ट मत करो. मैं बहुत सारी चीजें एंटिसिपेशन में ऑफिस में था, मुझे मालूम है कुछ चीजें आपके काम में रिपीटेटिव होती है ना. तो आपको मालूम है कि मंडे को ये रिपोर्ट जाएगी, तुमको मालूम है कि ट्यूसडे. थोड़ा सा टाइम जब मिला है, बैठो बना लो. हम मंडे का रिपोर्ट संडे को बनाते हैं, ट्यूसडे वाला रिपोर्ट मंडे को बनाते हैं. तो वो चीजें एंटिसिपेशन में आप करने लग जाओगे तो आपका काम एफिशिएंट होगा एंड आपके पास टाइम मिलेगा.
Yes. So as you are like surrounded with 99 percentiles, like more than I guess 10 or I don't know how many 99 percentiles are you surrounded with. I want to know what is the common pattern while they were studying, and you have seen your students as well and the students who have achieved 99 plus percentile. So what was the common pattern you have seen in them, and how many mock tests they have given? What were the analysis after the mock tests they have done, and how they have reviewed and analyzed their performance in the mock test? So has it helped them in achieving the 99 percentile, and what was the actual strategy behind that? The common strategy that you have seen.
Okay. So, Chanpreet, if I talk about a common element between the 99 percentilers, is a lot of sincerity, correct? For example, they would always show up. Okay, I still remember one of the 99 percentilers, messaging me in one of the class last year. अभी DILR में 0 लेके आया हूँ, रो के आया हूँ, फिर भी क्लास में बैठा हूँ. ठीक है. So that is sincerity, and also I'd say mental strength. 99 percentilers आपको मिलेंगे. ऐसा नहीं है कि they are like out of the world kind of people. They're normal people. People like you, like me, everybody. But they are mentally very strong. For example, the way they sort of react to bad scores is different.
Yeah.
Or maybe, for example, so I think that is very important because these people are able to manage emotions better, correct? Or let me put it like this: the common pattern is they are better managers already, करेक्ट? वो अभी से ही अच्छे मैनेजर्स हैं और उनमें अच्छे मैनेजर्स के गुण पहले से दिखाई देते हैं. सी कैट में 99 परसेंटाइल इज नॉट IIT JEE और इट्स नॉट अबाउट बीइंग इंटेलिजेंट, इट्स अबाउट मैनेजिंग योरसेल्फ, इमोशंस, टाइम, resources better, correct? So that is one important element. Second important element is if I talk about the number of mocks. So Chanpreet, we've had students get into FMS Delhi with 12 mocks also. A guy called Shivam went into FMS with 12 mocks. That's it. However, I do not recommend that. And I was the other extreme. During my preparation days, I took 100 mocks. तो मेरा 100 का टारगेट लेके चल रहा था, मैं 100 मॉक्स दूंगा, तो मैं 100 मॉक्स दिया. आई थिंक anywhere between 30 to 40 mocks is an appropriate number to take, and that is what most 99 percentilers do. They take, if you'll actually do an analysis, we did it last year, so people took 35 to 40 mocks.
Okay.
But what is very important, Chanpreet, is how well do you analyze those mocks? So you might as well take as many mocks as you want, but if you are not going through the analysis, then it is a bit of a problem. So the way we go about it is we share, at IIM Litmus, we share with the students a self evaluation or a self analysis of mocks. It's a framework which effectively helps you analyze at the quantitative and qualitative level as to how are you doing. For example, if in terms of attempts, in terms of accuracy, in terms of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Correct? And then there is a live mock analysis which happens with me, wherein student comes in 12 to 3 every Sunday. We sit down and we have an in-depth discussion about the entire paper. For example, what should be the order of selection, which is the question you should select and which is the question you should leave. Correct? Apart from that, तुम्हारा for example, what issue that you faced in that mock, you can discuss with the mentor. फेस हुई मेरे एनालिसिस से मुझे लगता है कि मेरी रीडिंग स्पीड में प्रॉब्लम है, so then what should I do about it? What I realize is that I am facing problems with, let's say, scheduling or let's say games and tournaments kind of sets. So then what should I do about it? Correct? So effectively, it's more of a discussion to remedy the kind of problems that students are facing. So what is important, Chanpreet, is not just the number of mocks, but the in-depth analysis. Typically, a 99 percentiler spends anywhere between 6 to 8 hours, on one mock, not just 2 hours. 2 hours is basically taking the mock, and then 5 to 6 hours additionally sitting down, analyzing the mock, solving what you are not able to solve, and apart from that, noting patterns. If I am making silly mistakes, am I making the similar mistakes in every mock, or is it different? Okay, am I good with parajumbles or I'm good with parasummary? I need to know that first, correct? Because I can't find out in the real exam. मुझे ये सब पहले से पता होना जरूरी. पैटर्न है कि उनका एनालिसिस बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग है, मतलब they are spending a lot of time on analysis. That they understand their strengths and weaknesses very well. It's not that they are all strong and everything. They are having weaknesses also, but they are aware of their strengths and weaknesses. So self-awareness is a very important character, is the way I look at it, Chanpreet.
Okay. So do you think that engineers and non-engineers have a different approach towards the preparation, and do engineers score well or non-engineers? Like what, as per your understanding, I know that you have taught many engineers as well as the non-engineer students. So what was the ratio of getting 99 percentile of the engineers and the non-engineers?
See, obviously it's more engineers getting 99 percentile.
Yeah.
But non-engineers getting the college at lesser percentile. करेक्ट? तो इंजीनियर अगर फॉर एग्जांपल 99 लेके आ रहा है और नॉन इंजीनियर अगर फॉर एग्जांपल 98.5 लेके आ रहा है, तो उसका 98.5 उसके 99 से ज्यादा है. ठीक है? आई एम माई सेल्फ अ जेम कैंडिडेट, अ जनरल इंजीनियर मेल. So general engineer, it's very difficult for a general engineer male to actually secure a seat in a top IIM, because at this point in time, if you do not have a decent academics, like a 888 or a 999 kind of a score, anywhere below 99.4 or 99.5 is not going to fetch any blackie call. Correct, for a gem candidate. So and yet you have so many gems actually making it to the B schools, the top B schools. So if you actually see, the majority is still the gem, right? So obviously that goes on without thinking too much, that yes, engineers are getting the scores, but I believe it's a level playing field, because the other candidates who are non-engineers also get academic diversity points. So even if they score a little lesser, it effectively compensates for the difference that an engineer creates. So I believe that in terms of preparation strategy, typically in case of engineers, because they have good quant skills, they are a little better with quants and DI, right? However, they also seem to be struggling with LR and VARC, correct? Vis-a-vis, I compare with the other students who are from, let's say, literature, humanities, BCom, BBA, tend to be doing a little better in terms of VARC and logical reasoning, and need to work more towards QA and DI. So it's effectively Chanpreet, more two sides of a coin, right? So effectively the engineers who are good at something and the non-engineers which are good for something, and the B school also wants that diversity. They want engineers also, and they want non-engineers also, to create a diverse learning place where people can share through and understand from each other's experiences, correct? Yeah. So in terms of approach, obviously very simple. People who are from non-engineering background need to start and focus more on QA and DI, basic foundational elements, start from scratch, and then build upon it. For example, let's say for people starting right now for, let's say, CAT 26 or CAT 27, and they are from non-maths background, is a good starting place can be, let's say, NCERT. So you can pick up NCERT books from class 6 to class 10 and start sort of solving that. Similarly, for people who are from an engineering background and, let's say, aiming 26, 27, in their case, they need to start from reading exercises. So daily reading exercise, reading habits, writing summaries, going through vocabulary, building up vocabulary, and solving more of puzzles. There is a very interesting book by Shakuntala Devi called, I think it's called More Puzzles, or Puzzles to Puzzle You. But I think that's a good starting point if you want to learn LR or logical reasoning. So I think that's how the starting point is. But overall, Chanpreet, we've had people from both engineering as well as non-engineering backgrounds get 99 percentile. So we had last year Shreya Gupta, who got a 99.77 percentile. We had Siddhant also, who had a 99.65 percentile. Multiple non-engineers who also did amazing last year. We had Pranav, who got a 99.83. So primarily it's not restricted to people. To begin with, you might face challenges, but over time we have seen people. In fact, last year one of our non-math students called Ronak scored a 99.69 in quants. His highest was in quants. He's a non-maths guy. Uska highest ही quants में है.
Nice.
Correct. So people are completely transcending their boundaries and creating great impact. So if somebody is listening to us right now, and if they believe that they're not good with, let's say, quants or VARC or DILR, remember, you can absolutely nail it. In fact, one of our students who had a -1 score in DILR in CAT 2023, -1, went on to score a 99.9 plus in DILR the last year, CAT 2024. तो आप completely change कर सकते हैं. Whatever is your weakness will not perpetually be your weakness if you prepare better, is what I'd say.
So, last and final question, as for you, what resources and which resources should the candidate focus? Books, online, there are multiple Telegram groups, test series, mock tests, there are multiple resources, and the candidate sometimes get most of the time the aspirants get confused from where should I study. Is this book is good enough for this subject, or I want to understand, and I want to tell the aspirants also what should be their management of the resources for the CAT preparation.
I think a great question, Chandu. A lot of people face this resource paralysis. Resource है कि करना क्या वही समझ नहीं आ रहा. So I think let me help streamline the resources for you. Your starting point can be, if you are, let's say, starting to prepare for CAT, your starting point can be books like NCERT are great books to begin with, very honestly.
Yeah.
And these are very readily available also. बहुत ज़्यादा spending करने की ज़रूरत है, फ्री में मिल जाता है. और अरुण शर्मा भी आपको अवेलेबल हो जाता है. If you have a friend or anybody, if somebody wants, they can connect with us. We'll share them, absolutely free, right? So that is something which they can to begin with वहाँ से कर सकते हैं. वहाँ से करने के बाद थोड़ा बेसिक बिल्ड करो. आप कोई भी, for example, let's say there are multiple channels on YouTube also. If you believe that, let's say, a certain faculty I'm able to understand better, आप उनको फॉलो करो. बहुत सारे चैनल्स फॉलो करने से भी कंफ्यूजन होता है. ठीक है. मल्टीपल आपके जो भी चैनल्स हैं, अच्छे चैनल्स जो हैं, फॉर एग्जांपल एट MBA Litmus वी आर कंटिन्यूअसली शेयरिंग एजुकेशनल कंटेंट. उसके अंदर आपका अरिथमेटिक का पूरा कंप्लीट, फॉर एग्जांपल वर्कशॉप लेक्चर्स हो गए, अलजेब्रा का हो गया. तो कोई भी आप एक या दो फैक्ट समझ में आता, दैट इज मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट. मेरे लिए फॉर एग्जांपल वही अच्छा है जो मुझे समझ में आ रहा है. आई थिंक दैट्स द मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट. सो वो आप नैरो डाउन कर लो. आप फॉर एग्जांपल सारे चैनल्स देख लो, नैरो डाउन कर लो कि ये 2 लोग मुझे क्वांट्स में अच्छे लगते हैं, ये 2 लोग मुझे DILR में अच्छे लगते हैं, ये 2 लोग मुझे VARC में, तो मैं इनके ही देखूंगा. संसार में चाहे जो भी हो रहा हो मुझे उससे, ठीक है. तो वो आप नैरो डाउन एंड सब्सिक्वेंटली इन द लेटर पार्ट ऑफ योर प्रिपरेशन गो विथ अ प्रोग्राम जहाँ पे आपको एक स्ट्रक्चर्ड प्रिपरेशन जो आपको एडवांस लेवल पे ले जाए. बिकॉज जैसे ही आप एडवांस लेवल के प्रिपरेशन में जाते हो, फिर आपका डाउट्स बनना शुरू हो जाता है. आपके डाउट्स, आपके क्वेरीज जो कि फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से आपके यूट्यूब चैनल्स के ऊपर प्रॉपरली सॉल्व नहीं हो पाता है. अब यूट्यूब चैनल के ऊपर फॉर एग्जांपल आपको लेट्स से कोई डाउट हो गया किसी प्रॉब्लम के अंदर, तो उसको सही तरीके से समझाना बड़ा कठिन, तो वो नहीं हो पाता. तो आपके फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से आपने एक बेसिक बिल्ड कर लिया, उसके बाद आपने एक बेयर मिनिमम इन्वेस्टमेंट के साथ में आपने कर लिया. आई बिलीव फॉर पीपल हु आर लेट्स से जो भी फॉर एग्जांपल people who can't spend too much, I think they can go with online programs. Online programs at this point in time are good. अगर आप फॉर एग्जांपल थोड़ा सा चेक करके अपना ड्यू डिलिजेंस करके जहाँ पे आपको प्रॉपरली तैयारी मिले, और मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंटली आपको मॉक्स के साथ एनालिसिस और डाउट सॉल्विंग मिलना जरूरी है. बिकॉज आपके डाउट सॉल्व करने के लिए प्रोग्राम्स को हेल्प करना चाहिए, तभी ग्रोथ या डेवलपमेंट होगा. सो दैट इज हाउ आई से कि अगर आप स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं तो आप इस तरीके से स्टार्ट करिए, थोड़ा बिल्ड कर लीजिए और फिर आप एक प्रोग्राम लीजिए. उससे आपको फायदा ये होगा कि आपका प्रोग्राम कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगा. अगर आप स्टार्ट से ही प्रोग्राम लेते हैं तो आपको प्रोग्राम कॉस्ट थोड़ा सा बेसिक बिल्ड करके लेंगे तो कम लगेगा. तो आई थिंक दैट इज हाउ आई लुक एट इट. Chanpreet.
Thank you so much. Just last insight for all the aspirants who will be giving the CAT 2025 as well as CAT 2026. What do you have to say to them?
I'd say that for all the people preparing for CAT 2025, my message is you have 4 months. What is very important in the 4 months is how much efforts you are putting and in what direction. So very clearly, I think mocks are your best friend. Take mocks, analyze the mocks. It will very clearly tell you that these are the areas that you need to work on. And if you are smart enough, you will pick those areas and you will score well. Okay? Don't be upset with mocks. कोई आईने से नाराज होता है क्या? तो आईना है, उससे नाराज होने वाली कोई बात नहीं. Don't kill the messenger. The way we put it, right? So आपको मॉक्स हेल्प करते हैं. बहुत सारे लोग मॉक देने में लेट करते हैं, वो मत करिए. आप मॉक्स अच्छे से दीजिए, उसको एनालाइज करिए. एंड इफ यू बिलीव दैट यू नीड एनी ऑफ आवर हेल्प, यू कैन कनेक्ट विद अस थ्रू द MBA Litmus channel. In fact, we've been helping a lot of students personally. So that we'll be happy to do that in your case also. That is number 1. For CAT 2026 people, I'd say कि आपके पास समय है, लेकिन आप अभी से तैयारी शुरू करिए. बहुत सारे अचीवर्स आपका जो 26 अपीयर करने वाले हैं वो भी 25 देंगे. तो यू शुड टेक 25 एग्जाम ऑल्सो, CAT 2025. आप थोड़ा बेसिक प्रिपरेशन करके CAT 25 दो. कोशिश करो कि 85 परसेंटाइल या 90 परसेंटाइल तक आप रीच करो. फिर वहां से बिल्ड करना काफी आसान हो जाएगा आपके लिए. सो those are some of the elements for CAT 25 and 26. I'd say कि अपना बेस्ट करो. Make sure that you do not give up till the end. A lot of people who are not getting into the top B schools are primarily not getting because they leave it mid. बीच में छोड़ देते हैं, या डिमोटिवेट हो गए तो अब पता नहीं कि क्या करना है तो छोड़ देते हैं। लेकिन मानता हूँ जो उन्होंने स्टार्ट किया उनका लेवल वैसे दिख नहीं रहा था 99 परसेंटाइल या 98 परसेंटाइल वाला, लेकिन मेहनत आप ला सकते हैं। देयर इज नो स्मार्ट वर्क, देयर इज स्मार्ट हार्ड वर्क दैट we are required to do to effectively get into the top P schools.
Thank you so much for taking out such valuable time of yours for us, for the CAT aspirants.
Thank you so much, Chanpreet. As mentioned earlier, you people are doing great work. Keep doing such amazing work for the aspirants. You are making life easy, and I'm sure a lot of people who are, let's say, not saying this to you, but on their behalf, I must say that you people are doing absolutely fantastic. You are helping so many people in so many ways. And I think God bless you guys. Do keep doing great work as always. And our best wishes are always with you. And we'll always be available wherever you would require any of our help or support in terms of helping the larger audience in terms of the CAT aspirants and MBA aspirants.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Let's
Thank you,
stay connected. And thank you.